Give it to God, get better. Let me ask you something right now. How many times have you carried the weight of your burdens alone, convinced that if you just worked harder, ran faster, or pushed stronger, you would finally break through? We've all felt that pressure. We've all stared at our reflection in the mirror late at night, wondering if we're enough. And in those moments, when the world feels heavy and the path forward is clouded by doubt, it's natural to hide our struggles. But the truth is, every single one of us is searching for a spark, something to restore our faith in who we can be. That's why this matters tonight. I'm talking about the power of surrender and the transformation that happens when you hand your worries over to a higher purpose and then dedicate yourself to real, tangible change. If that idea has you nodding, if it resonates somewhere deep inside where you store your hidden fears and your unspoken dreams, then I invite you to listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. Sometimes we feel stuck in the endless cycle of try harder, do better, climb higher. We hustle, we grind, and we repeat, assuming that exhaustion is simply the price of achievement. But deep down, there's another voice whispering that there's a different way, a path where your spirit isn't crushed by the weight of your ambitions. I want you to feel the significance of this. We're not meant to suffer in isolation. Yes, we have to work. We have to struggle. We have to earn our progress. But the moment we think we can do it all alone is the moment we build invisible walls, cutting ourselves off from the greatest source of help. Maybe you've been there, fighting your battles without hope, terrified to show vulnerability. Maybe you're still there right now, arms crossed, heart guarded, unwilling to let go. That's the conflict we face. And that's the spark that unites us here today. Because the first step to getting better isn't just about muscling through. It's about finding a deeper foundation. You see, there's a point where every self-reliant effort you've made feels like it's hitting a glass ceiling. A point where your pride blocks the flow of something bigger and more powerful than you can generate on your own. It can leave you questioning your value, questioning your future, questioning if any of this is worth it. But once you decide to give those burdens to God, or whatever you believe to be a power greater than yourself, you make space for growth. You make space for peace. And you make space for actual lasting changes. That's the reason we're here tonight. We're here because we want real breakthroughs, not fleeting boosts of motivation that fizzle out in a week. When we give up the illusion that we have to bear it all alone, we start to see the horizon open up. And that's where genuine transformation begins. I want to talk about a crucial truth. Your strength alone won't carry you if your heart is weighed down by unresolved guilt, shame, or fear. That's why giving it to God is the doorway to releasing these chains, freeing you up to invest your energy in true progress. But what does that look like in practical terms? Let's face it, surrender can sound like a far-off concept, too abstract to apply to your everyday grind. So let's break it down. Picture a moment when you felt powerless. Maybe it was losing someone you love, facing a career setback, or coping with a betrayal. You tried every angle, every strategy, every ounce of your will, and it still wasn't enough. That moment raw. human moment is where surrender becomes your anchor. Instead of beating yourself up for not being invincible, you shift your mindset. You say, I can't carry this alone. I need help. You open your hands instead of clenching your fists. We often resist this kind of surrender because we think it makes us look weak. In reality, acknowledging your need for guidance is the strongest thing you can do. The more you cling to the notion that you're all powerful on your own, the more likely you are to wear yourself out. When people ignore the power of surrender, they might prop themselves up with false bravado, diving deeper into isolation. They might push people away, sabotage their relationships, and lose sight of what truly matters. You see it happen to high achievers who spiral into burnout and question their worth after one perceived failure. You see it in families where a parent tries to be everything to everyone and ends up distant, disconnected, or resentful. And these stories aren't outliers, they're everywhere. The common thread is the refusal to say, I can't do this without help. God, take this from me so I can move forward. Not in a passive, I give up sense, but in an active way. Choosing to ground yourself in a power that can steady you. Once you make that choice, you start to turn your energy toward improving day by day. You show up with humility, you show up with openness, and you show up ready to be molded by each experience, good or bad. So how do you do it? The first step is honesty. You have to be real with yourself about where you're struggling. Name it. Whether it's anger, addiction, anxiety, or even just a deep fear of disappointing those you love, put it on the table. Then, ask for help in prayer or in meditation, whatever resonates with you. But don't stop there. Lean into discipline. You want to get better. Then you need to pair your surrender with daily habits that lift you. Develop a morning routine that centers your spirit. Volunteer for a cause that reminds you of the bigger picture, or spend time each day in quiet reflection to recalibrate. When you give your burden to God, you don't sit back waiting for miracles. You roll up your sleeves and get to work. You push yourself, guided by a force that's larger than your personal drive. And that combination, humility, spiritual grounding, and disciplined action, produces a strength you won't find anywhere else. Maybe you're thinking, I get it, but where do I start? It all sounds overwhelming. Let me paint a simple picture. Imagine a friend who's been through serious challenges. A serious illness, financial ruin, or heartbreak. At their lowest point, they decided to surrender. They prayed, they let go of their ego, and they resolved to do what was necessary to heal. Their transformation might not have been overnight, but day by day, you could see the light returning to their eyes. They pursued therapy. They sought community. They found motivation to rebuild their life. That's the power of handing off your pain and let it be replaced with faith and action. And that's where we find common ground, because every single person here is capable of making that same decision. It's not reserved for saints or spiritual gurus. It's for you, for me, for anyone ready to break the cycle of solitary struggle and move toward a life marked by genuine growth. When we ignore this principle, we risk running on empty. We risk clinging to false narratives that tell us success is solely about hustle, or that vulnerability is a weakness to be hidden. We risk missing out on the best parts of life, things like love, connection, and purpose, because we're too busy trying to shoulder everything ourselves. But here's the good news. You can choose differently right now, tonight. You can let go of what you can't control and step into a partnership with the divine that paves the way for real, lasting, and fulfilling improvement. Now, let's take that foundation of faith, surrender, and move to the next critical shift, the daily decision to get better in every sense, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If you think handing it over to God means you're off the hook for the work, you're misunderstanding the relationship. You see, true surrender isn't the end of your effort. It's the start of your transformation. Once you lay down your burdens, you pick up a new responsibility to nurture yourself as an evolving creation. And here's where so many people go wrong. They say, I've prayed, I've given it to God. Now things should just fix themselves, right? Wrong. That's like expecting your garden to thrive without planting seeds or watering the soil. When you decide to align yourself with a higher purpose, you also commit to the daily choices that reflect that purpose. Let's talk about what those choices look like. Let's say you have a dream that keeps your soul awake at night. It might be launching a business, turning your hobby into your life's work, or simply being a better parent or friend. After you've prayed and let go of the notion that you must do it all on your own, you need to build a routine that nurtures that dream. Are you reading books and seeking mentors? Are you taking practical steps each day to learn new skills? Are you aligning yourself with a community that encourages your growth? Getting better isn't just a vague wish for improvement. It's an intentional, step-by-step process. And the irony is, once you accept that you can't carry everything alone, you start to find new avenues of support. People show up in your life with resources, with encouragement, with fresh perspectives you never had before. You can't just wait around for those breakthroughs, though. Think of the person who prays for a healthier body, but never changes their diet or exercise habits. Or the one who prays for stronger relationships, but never opens up or communicates honestly. Faith without action is stagnant. What does it mean to be active in your journey of getting better? It means each morning you wake up with a sense of responsibility to bring your best self to the table. You ask yourself, how can I honor this life I've been given? How can I live in a way that gives respect to the gifts I've received? Maybe that involves a serious reevaluation of who you're hanging out with, how you're spending your free time, and what kind of input you're feeding your mind. You can't just wish for improvement and keep doing the same things that led you into trouble. Getting better is a daily commitment to refine what you do, how you think, and who you become. Picture someone who never realized this connection between surrender and daily growth. They might spend their lives cycling through the same problems, the same heartbreaks, the same frustrations. They prayed desperately in moments of crisis, only to ignore every door of opportunity that opens afterward. They might beg for financial stability, but never develop a plan or a budget. They might crave deeper love, but never look in the mirror to see how they've been pushing people away. That's the cost of refusing to link your faith to practical effort. It's a life of almosts and maybes, of prayers that never translate into action. And it's heartbreaking, but it's also avoidable. You avoid it by deciding every single day that you are part of the process. You trust, but you also toil. You have faith, but you also follow through. And in that combination lies a power that can restructure your life from the ground up. So how do we make that shift? We make it by committing to real discipline. We plan our day with intention. We set goals that are tied to our values. And we develop strategies that honor the spiritual commitment we've made. Maybe you need an accountability partner. Someone who'll check in on your progress and remind you why you started. Or maybe you need to set boundaries around your time, your energy, or your relationships. If you're serious about getting better, you need to stop entertaining the same old excuses. I'm too busy, I'm too tired, it's too late for me. If you catch yourself saying these things, remember the choice you made when you surrendered. You handed over the worries and the burdens so that you could be free to rise up. Don't willingly chain yourself down again with fear or laziness or doubt. And here's the beautiful payoff. The more you practice daily improvement, the more you see the benefits spill over into every corner of your life. Your relationship become richer because you're showing up with honesty and open-heartedness. Your work becomes more fulfilling because you're fueled by a purpose bigger than a paycheck. Your emotional well-being stabilizes because you're no longer tossing and turning in the dead of night, overwhelmed by regrets or anxieties. This is not a fairy tale ending. It's a very real outcome of consistent, faith-rooted effort. The moment you connect your surrender to daily discipline, you create an unstoppable momentum. You become the person who perseveres, who doesn't break down at the first sign of challenge because you know you have a divine partner in your corner. That's not arrogance. That's confidence. The kind of confidence that transforms dreams into realities. Let me share a story about someone who embodied this principle. Imagine a woman who lost her job unexpectedly. Her whole sense of security and self-worth took a hit. She surrendered those fears, prayed fervently, and found a renewed sense of determination. Each morning, she developed a routine. Wake up early, meditate, or pray. Apply for a set number of positions, network with potential mentors, and then devote time to learning new skills online. She didn't stop at hoping, she acted. Within a few months, not only did she land a job that aligned with her passions, but she also discovered a newfound appreciation for life's challenges. She transformed a setback into a setup for something better. That's what giving it to God and getting better looks like in action. No shortcuts, no magic wands, just faith and determination working hand in hand. Now, when you link these ideas of surrender and daily self-improvement, you see how deeply they feed into each other. You're no longer overwhelmed by the storm because you've got an anchor. And you're no longer waiting passively because you've chosen to fight for your own betterment. It's an active partnership. And once you experience even a glimpse of that partnership, you realize you're capable of far more than you ever believed. People might ask, What changed? Or how did you manage that? And you'll know the answer. You gave it to God, and then you got to work. The old cycles of stress, fear, and exhaustion gradually give way to a new rhythm, one that combines faith, focus, and an unwavering commitment to growth. That's your new normal. That's the life you step into. So we've explored giving it to God. We've talked about the necessity of turning your struggles over to a greater power instead of trying to contain them in your own limited capacity. And we've emphasized that getting better is not a passive process, but an intentional daily effort, fueled by the energy you free up when you let go of burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. Now, I want to wrap this up by taking us back to the essential lessons and driving them home, so that when you walk away tonight, you do so with clarity, conviction, and the courage to act. We talked about how the first step is surrender. Nobody likes that word at first glance. Surrender sounds like losing, but it's actually the most powerful form of winning when done in the right spirit. It means you recognize the limit of your own strength and invite a boundless source of wisdom and support into your life. It's giving yourself permission to say, I'm not walking this road alone. That's the difference between stumbling in darkness and allowing a guiding light to show you the next step. Remember the image of clenched fists that hold on to every worry, every regret, every fear. When you open your hands, you create space for guidance, peace, and purpose to flow in. That's the foundation of everything else we've discussed. Then we address the critical misunderstanding that faith alone will magically fix your problems. It won't. What it does is position you to receive, position you to get equipped, and position you to grow. But growth demands action. Just as a plant needs water and sunlight, even after you've planted the seed, your goals and dreams need consistent nourishment. You want better health. Commit to exercise and mindful eating. You want better relationships. Practice empathy, patience, and vulnerability. You want a breakthrough in your career. Seek knowledge, network, and deliver excellence in every small task. Each time you act, you fulfill your side of the partnership. You honor the trust you placed in God by making the most of the strength and opportunities given to you. That synergy between surrender and determination is what sparks genuine transformation. Reflect on your own life. Where have you been holding on too tightly, insisting that it's all on your shoulders? Maybe it's your marriage that's on the rocks, your finances that never seem to stabilize, or your self-esteem that's been shattered by setbacks. Instead of piling on more and more pressure to do it all yourself, try surrender. Ask for help, both divine and human. Seek counseling if you must. Learn new skills. Talk to people who've been where you are. And as you release that weight, channel the energy you recover into daily actions that steer you toward progress. Because that's the real blessing of faith. It doesn't reduce you to a passive observer. It invites you into an active, transformative process. You have to remember that genuine surrender changes your perspective. You stop fixating on what you lack and start noticing what you can build with what you have. You stop seeing challenges as punishments and start embracing them as lessons. This shift in attitude rewires how you engage with the world. You become more open, more teachable, more resilient. Fear doesn't vanish, but it stops controlling you. You meet each day as an opportunity to refine yourself, to add value to the world, to be present for those who love you. And even when you stumble, you don't collapse into despair. You get up, pray again, learn a lesson, and move forward with renewed commitment. That's the beauty of combining surrender with action. It's a cycle of continuous growth, never stagnant, always evolving. When I ask you to give it to God, I'm not asking you to resign to fate. I'm asking you to partner with the greatest force of possibility. When I say, get better, I'm not telling you that you're not enough as a human being. I'm reminding you that life is a journey of constant evolution, and you owe it to yourself and the people you love to keep pressing forward. This message is urgent because we live in a world that often glorifies self-reliance at all costs, that tells you to handle every problem on your own, that mocks vulnerability as weakness. But there's a deeper truth. We're made to connect, to empathize, to encourage, and to uplift each other. And that's what surrender does. It connects you to something bigger and encourages you to stand tall, not just for your sake, but as a testament to others that there is a better way. So, as we close, let me leave you with a call to action. First, identify one burden you're carrying tonight that feels too heavy. It might be regret, might be anger, might be a sense of unworthiness. Write it down. Say it out loud. Own it. Then choose a moment, maybe right after you walk out of here or right before you go to bed, to give that burden over to God. Literally speak the words, if you must, I can't do this by myself. I surrender this to you. And as soon as you've done that, map out one practical step you'll take tomorrow to move forward. It could be making a phone call, setting an appointment, creating a budget, or having an honest conversation you've been avoiding. That's your first seed planted. Nurture it. Water it with faith and consistent effort, and keep going. I believe in the power of that simple yet monumental act, because once you've given it to God, you're not weighed down by the fear of failure the same way. You're liberated to dare, to try, to stretch your abilities further than ever. And here's the final positive note I want you to hold onto. This process, this partnership, this combination of divine support and human persistence is infinitely available to you. It's not restricted by status, background, or past mistakes. The moment you decide to trust and to act, you open the door to a new chapter. One where your struggles become stepping stones and your obstacles become fuel for growth. And if you keep walking in that direction, one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive, you thrived. You found a strength that goes beyond your individual limits, and you discovered the capacity to reinvent yourself over and over again. Give it to God, then get better. That's the blueprint. That's the invitation. That's the promise that can reshape the rest of your life if you're willing to step out in faith and follow through with consistent daily effort. So go out there, release what's been holding you down, and take hold of what's waiting for you on the other side. I promise you it's worth every moment of surrender, every ounce of discipline, and every leap of faith. You've got this, and most importantly, you're not alone. Go forward tonight knowing that real change is possible when you combine your humanity with divine possibility and back it up with steady, unshakable resolve. That's how you give it to God. That's how you get better. And that's how you live a life that leaves an unmistakable mark on this world.